on the black kind of piping tubing parts of this model. Now, using the colour called AK Rubber Black, even though it says it's black, it's more like a really dark grey. I have actually done that side, so now I'm going to do the central ones and the other side. So yeah, obviously its colour is designed to mimic or replicate like your black hydraulic tubes, that sort of thing. And yes, it does seem to do a pretty good job of it. So, first time I've used this colour. I must say that I'm not sure the AMS that I bought, the hardware filament changer, not sure it will get as much use as I thought it might. The positive is that you can use different materials, like the whole rationale behind buying it in the first place was I was going to have a PETG supports or interface layers and then models and PLA. But the amount of waste, I mean, you know, I'm not really a big greenie or anything like that, but I still do believe in protecting our environment and trying to cause as small a footprint as possible. So I think I will probably just keep it for like really fragile, thin parts, stuff that you have a real concern that trying to remove a support might break it. For things like, you know, like a major staff or really intricate iconography, stuff like that, it's probably going to work fine, especially if it's a smaller part, so there's not so much waste anyway. But yeah, I'm probably not going to use it for every print. But look, one of the advantages, or not advantages, one of the, I guess, benefits of having bought the AMS is it did kind of prompt me to go through and test a whole bunch of different settings for the printer. Things like ironing settings to get better finishes, things like what they call the Z height, so like the gap, the distance between your supports and the model itself. So I have done a whole bunch of testing on that sort of stuff and come up with some new defaults for my printer settings, which I think will improve things. So even though I may not necessarily use the PETG interface to make support removal easier, I think with my new settings, supports are going to be a bit easier to remove anyway. So that's a nice thing. I mean, supports are kind of like the thing you have to put up with to get your hobby. This kind of deal, like, you know, I do actually genuinely love 3D printers and the printing technology. I think that that's awesome, but the support removal is just a necessary evil part of the hobby to get to the model that you then want to paint, which is my actual hobby, is the painting part. Yeah, support removal is just saying painful sometimes. There's no other way to describe it. But you know, once you have done it, then you have your awesome model which you can then paint, just like this thing. So yeah, so anyway, I have the AMS. It will get some use, but probably not as much use as I initially thought it would. If the interface swap over hadn't caused much poop or waste, there as it does, then yeah, I may have used a lot more. But unfortunately, it does create a huge amount of waste, and you know, I just don't like generating that amount of waste material. It's not even like the cost issue. Like, you know, filament is relatively cheap. It is not an expensive hobby. Once you've bought your printer and once you've bought your paint as well. I mean, you know, I don't have any sponsors or anything. I've bought all these paints, and it's probably a fair amount of money that I've sunk into that as well. But you know, that's kind of my collection, really. Some people collect things as part of their hobby. I guess I collect paints. But anyway, it has been an interesting experience getting the AMS and doing all these tests and kind of figuring out how it works. Obviously, you know, I can really see the attraction to like these dual head machines that you get these days, like the H2D, for example, is the Bamboo's version. It would be absolutely awesome to be able to have one of those machines. You basically print everything with your supports in PETG and your model in PLA, and the supports would come off really easy and there'd be very minimal waste, and you know, that's all great. But in Australia, at least, the price of the machine is just like, you know, I could not justify that. Alrighty, so that is the AK Rubber Black, and yeah, I will leave that there. So I'm going to use this AK White Grey colour is the plan for the skulls. So there's not a lot of skulls. There's small ones on the legs, and then there's the big one there. So just don't want to have a bright white as such, something that's a little bit more greyish. These like the whole model basically will get some kind of dark brown or black, either wash or dry brush, just to kind of finish it off, so they won't end up bright white anyway, but I didn't really want a stark bright white. Like I say, kind of surprised that in my colour palette I don't have a colour. I'm assuming they probably make one, AK or Vallejo, called Bone, but yeah, it's just not one that I have in my collection. That's nice though. I mean, it's white enough. Apologies for the sniffles. It's a little bit windy and cold these days. Well, cold's a relative term, I guess, but for us it is cold. I've got a colleague that works in Canberra, and he's always posting me his temperatures in the minus, like -3 or -5 or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's all relative. That's frickin' freezing. So the chain I'll probably do in a golden, sort of like brass, or maybe copper, maybe even darker. Lots of ways I could go for the chain, but yes, it'll definitely be a metal, because it's metal. I won't go grey though, like I've got so much grey already. Got the tentacles, I guess you'd call it, and got the back, that's all a metallic gunmetal, so yeah, definitely do like a gold of some form or other after the skull is dried. Oh yes, happy with that white grey as it were. It's yeah, will do fine. See, I haven't done the silver of the damage on the legs. Done the silver on all those legs. I must have. Yes, the same on this one. I haven't. Okay, I better get to that. Okay, so the plan for this session is to work on the mouth of the crawler and also do a little bit of prep for the base. So for the base I've got this burnt sienna colour which is kind of similar to the red rock colour that I'll be going for eventually on the base. And for the mouth I've got this AK Imperial Blue, which is probably going to be the pupil of the eye, but it's also where I'm going to start on, as it's going to be the main colour for the mouth. Listful Purple, game colour will be like these senses, I guess they are. I'm not sure of the actual biological name. But then the main colour for like the background of the eye and also for the tongue is going to be this light verdigris game colour. So yeah, a few colours to get through today. So we'll start, I guess, with the darker colour first. The Imperial Blue. Won't need much, that's probably enough. Not a colour palette, of course, that you would do if it was a human, but for a spider I did kind of Google image search spiders, and yeah, not the sort of fun research that I enjoy doing. Spiders have always personally kind of freaked me out a bit, but figured it was something I had to do. And yeah, a lot of black actually, but I thought thematically for me for this blue would also work. But that wasn't enough. I reckon a dry brush with the silver in the areas where the teeth are supposed to be will probably work really well. Once this is done. So my next project is pretty much all printed out. It's like going back to a more fantasy setting. It's a goblin riding a chariot led by two boars from the Might of Maledict series. But I did have a few issues with the base, which I had admittedly chopped up into two parts in Blender, which is the software that I use for like manipulation of digital designs, digital plans. But anyway, a long story short, when I had printed out things, there were some issues, and unfortunately my rotary tool, not sure if I should mention the brand name because I don't want to disparage anyone, but it's died on me, and that's the main thing that I use to like cut up bits of PLA that I need to remove and stuff like that. So it's kind of left me a bit stuck until I get a replacement next payday. I'm like, I can't really sort out the base. It gets very, very close, but just doesn't quite connect. So obviously I've got to remove some material and get it to connect up properly. Okay, it's not looking too bad, but once again, not enough print. Just going to need a little bit more for the insides. Not sure whether I did anything wrong with it or not though. Like my drills that I've got are all what they call brushless, so you don't need to add the carbon pads to them. And to be honest, I never even really knew what brushless meant or what the heck carbon pads were, but turns out that the rotary drill I had wasn't brushless, so I'm thinking maybe I could have just got some carbon pads and put them in and might have continued to work fine. Maybe it didn't really die, which is why I don't want to disparage the manufacturer of who made it, because it may end up of being user error as to why it didn't continue to work anymore. It just kind of stopped on me. Wasn't until I started researching a replacement that I was like, brushless, not brushless, carbon pads. Oh, hang on, what the heck is that? And then I watched a video and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I suspect what I had may have been out of warranty anyway, so I think I'd had it for several years. For a long time I just kind of sat there and didn't get any use at all, but I have the last year or so been using it a lot, so. That really should be the green. Okay, I'll leave that there. I won't tidy that up though. I'll leave that paint there. Because once I've done the eye, I'll want some of that again for the dot in the middle. And I don't really need to wait for that to dry because it doesn't have to be a perfect dot. Like if it's a little bit moves a little bit, well, that it's a natural eye. It's not a, engineered thing, so I think that's fine as well. I will have to wait, however, to do the tongue properly. Maybe it's alright to get a first coat. Might need some touch-up required, but at least I get to see how the colour scheme will work. Once again, this is all the clean, detailed painting. It will all get a bit of probably a dark brown wash, like a mud wash or a black wash, for a bit of dirt and wear and being out in the world rather than just coming off a showroom. I'm assuming this is kind of like a tank, even though it's designed like a spider. It's really more like a manufactured. Okay, that's blue, that's cool. Now we'll do the eyes. Yeah, it's more like a mechanical sort of construct, I guess, than a actual like animal, insect. Okay, like that. Cool. So if you wait for the paint to be completely dry and then you paint the center, you'll get a different, slightly different look, because this will bleed a bit, although if it bleeds too much I'll do a touch up, that's fine, but it's not going to be a perfect circle, which is kind of what I want. Whereas, yeah, you will get more like a perfect circle if you let it dry and then do the second colour later. So I'm kind of looking for it to look a bit more organic, a bit more natural than that. Yeah, like that. Happy with that. That one, I think it bled a little bit too much. That's alright, I'll let it all dry and then I'll fix that. It's not too bad. And like I say, I kind of don't want it to look perfect. Although having said that, I'm much happier with that sauce. Full purple bits, so these are like sensory parts, I'm guessing. Even though it's not really a real spider, it's like I said, a mechanical spider. I still put them on, so. Colour wise though, it gives you a good opportunity to add a different kind of palette and break things up a bit. That's exactly also why I'll end up doing the silver on the teeth area, even though I don't think the teeth kind of printed out properly. I don't think there's enough definition to like detail paint that area, but you can kind of just do a bit of a dry brush with silver over the whole area and it will give you the contrast of the two colours. I think that that purple sort of mauvey colour, I think it works well here, if I do say so myself. Quite happy with how that looks. Still a little bit of white. Don't quite know why they did 3 on one side and 2 and 2, too small, too big on the other. Maybe that's a real thing based off actual spiders. I'm not into spiders. It was a little bit freaky doing some research, looking at spider mouths. I was like, I don't really want to be here. But I quite often will Google image something, even a fantasy thing, like there's so much imagery of like goblins or orcs or whatever it is that you're particularly keen and interesting, and you're not really looking to copy anything, you're just kind of more looking for inspiration, just trying to get an idea of what you think will work and will fit your project. Like, you know, I was looking at these spider faces and a vast majority of them were like really dark colours, and some of them were like really bright like yellowy to orange, and I'm like, well, I've kind of like got yellow elsewhere, but then I came across some spiders that legitimately did have blue, and I was like, yeah, blue would work. Blue's a bit different enough, and that kind of led me into thinking, okay, blue purple as a combination will be a little bit different to the rest of the model. Just those slight changes in palette help it kind of break up the model rather than it all being the one colour, too monotone. I'm really happy with how that purple has worked out. Just a little bit there. Okay, so I've got a little bit of area there and there where I need to do some green touch-ups, but that's okay. And last on the list is to do something more on the ready palette for that central spire, because this is all going to be like a red colour, so I figure something of this tone, really brown, will kind of hide better than like a black. Something like you will do fine. I need a couple of coats, but that's alright. But it's just going to be easier to do now before I start putting PVA glue down. What have I picked up? Not sure if that was from the brush or where that came from. You know, you will be able to see it a lot more from the back, but that's by design, because you don't really look at the back of the models as much as you do the front. So when you're setting up your design, you know, you want things to be hidden from the front, and that's exactly what this will do. I mean, now I've got a lot of space here, but that's because these two arms are not attached yet. But once I attach those arms, obviously then, you know, this will be even harder to see from the front, that that supporting column, because, you know, those will all be sticking out in this direction. But from the back, yes, you will be able to see it quite easily, but I don't mind that. As long as by the sides and the front it looks fine. And once you get the rocks in the red colour, that will kind of hide in the background. Metallic tin that I am going to use for the mechanical pincher legs. I need some more of that later. I'll keep that off just in case. It's one of those little goes a long way sort of things. This is going to pick up all the detail of the model, kind of give it a two-tone sheen. I do this a lot with skin as well, like with the troll. Although it wasn't metallic, obviously, that was like blues and greys, but even just seeing that versus that gives you an idea of how it kind of adds another dimension to the texture of the model. But you lightly press and you don't have a lot of paint loaded on the brush, so that you get the effect rather than actually painting all over the paint that you've already got. So you don't want to repaint it, you want the two tones. Especially helps in models like this where there is physical texture. That's when you get the best effects, I find. Yeah, and look at that, like, that's taken 30 seconds to apply, and it makes a huge difference. You can even tell the difference where I haven't applied much. Alright, happy with that. Also, I wanted to apply all this before I start working on the base. It's just much easier because I would get this metal paint on the rocks and stuff of the base. I get a little bit too. A little bit of blue paint. So this is when you do go heavy because you actually want to hide. And just a little dab of the blue from the tongue, I think it was. And that fixed that right up. Quick, smart. Nice. I like it. I like it. I like it. I'll probably give it a wash as well, like, because it's, especially this has been crawling through all the mud or whatever. But yeah, that's just for that part. I wanted to do a little bit of something to kind of give it a bit more character. For this chain, it's just a small little area, but I've decided to go with my mainstay, which is brass, which I quite often use in golden sort of areas because I quite often find that brass is more golden than gold, quite frankly. Gold can be a little bit paler, and you can also sometimes need a lot more coats of it because of that paleness, whereas brass I find tends to work just as well, if not better. goes into the skull. Has a distinct loop ring at one end, but on this end it kind of just merges into the skull. I don't really want to put any weight on any of the spikes if I can help it, because it's all reasonably fragile. I mean, it's all glued into place, but obviously it's a lot easier if you don't break anything, don't mess up anything. Holding the model can also be a little bit tricky in parts. Once again, it's a delicate model, lots of thin spikes. But I think it looks pretty cool. Like the design of it is a pretty cool design. Mechanical spider. Would certainly look terrifying if it was crawling towards you. Looks like it's not quite enough. Okay, so chain. Oh, drop it. A little bit of chain coming down that side, but not as much as there is white, so I think a little bit of that will need to be red. Golden chain. Yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Happy with the colour. Did manage to put a little dot on the white skull. Unfortunately, I'll have to go back and fix that. Otherwise, not too bad. The printing is a bit messy around this particular area. It didn't do a clean job of it. It had broken a couple of places, and I had to reprint a little bit extra and then kind of mash it, glue it all together. But from the side where it's actually got the skull facing, it looks a lot prettier. It's a lot cleaner. So, yes. Yeah, I think that's the right colour though. Happy with that colour. Alrighty, so what's next? I guess we're getting pretty close to the detail painting being done. I'll give that base a second coat, that support part, and I should be able to start working on the base soon. I wanna kind of get the base sorted so that I can put the legs on.